All right, Jack. So we asked the question in the chat. We asked, how much does the Titans win-loss record in 2024 affect their decision on Will Levis after the season as their quarterback? I'll send you to the chat and see what the people are saying.
Nick Van Tier starts us off on YouTube. He says a lot. Eric Castillo on the other side of the spectrum with none. Ira Hoshi splitting down the middle with a little. We got a lot. With this roster, it means a lot. A lot, a little, some, a lot, very little, a lot. More than a little, but not a lot. A little. Only saying that because there's a possibility that this defense just gives up a lot of points. A lot, a little. So really, I mean, it's pretty split between a lot and a little. I would say a lot probably has the edge here. We see Rebecca and Pistol Ramsey chiming in with a lot. A lot from Jeffrey, a little from Scott Weaver. Depends on how he plays. More than a little, a lot. It's the number one thing from Hunter Sweat. Okay.
This is why I love this conversation, man. Pistol Ram said this is a hard question, and I agree. I think this is really fun because, there's variables here, right? The defense, different things, but overall, I think everybody goes into the season being like, Will Levis has to show us something, but we haven't really talked about exactly what that is and what the Titans as a team need to be to feel confident that this is your guy. So, Jack, does it surprise you that this is where the chat is at?
No, it doesn't surprise me. And I think Andre kind of hinted at it because of what the Titans did in free agency, the L'Jarius Sneed trade, how much the Titans have spent, time and effort in upgrading this, and money, obviously, in upgrading this roster. The Titans should take a step forward this season, even though we're in a new era with Brian Callahan, even though we've got 2 or 3 new coordinators, offensive, defensive, and special teams. You got a first-year starter at quarterback. Tony Pollard's brought in. You got kind of a reshaped offensive line. That defense has been upgraded, especially in the secondary, which was the weak spot last year. So you expect them to take a leap forward. But I forget who. I think it was JR. Somewhere in between a little and a lot's kind of where I'm going here. Because in today's day and age, numbers matter and analytics are at the forefront of the conversation. But the eye test also matters here. How does Will Levis play if they lose these games? Because, the sports books have the Titans win total around 5.5. And if the Titans win 6 games, that doesn't necessarily mean Will Levis blew 11 of them, right? Being the first in his first year as a full-time starter, there's going to be growing pains, especially in a new system. We acknowledge that. We acknowledge that it's not going to look pretty early, especially with a guy, with turnover, it's a little turnover prone at times. Some of the mistakes that he's going to make early in the season, you hope will be ironed out in the back half. So for me, it's in between a little and a lot, and I'm going to get away with that because I think that if Will Levis if the Titans go 5-10, but Will Levis puts up a Trevor Lawrence-like season, not great, but definitely not good. 20 or maybe a little over good. I don't know, 24 touchdowns, 14 picks, somewhere around there. But you can kind of see him take command. You can kind of see him feel confident, build a rapport with some of these receivers that he's working with. I think that that's a step forward. And right now, you just need Levis to take a step forward. You don't need him to make the playoffs. You don't need Will Levis to win a playoff game. You don't need him to throw 30 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and 10 picks. You need a step forward. And I think a 24, 25 touchdown season, taking care of the football, beating some teams in the division, I think that the eye test matters a whole lot more than just a certain number of wins for Will Levis. But that being said, if the Titans win 4 games this year, Will Levis either got hurt or something went terribly wrong. And you do have to reevaluate that situation and maybe have a discussion about finding a new quarterback after this season. So I think the 4 wins is probably when you start having that conversation. I think if he gets to 5 and 6, 7, looks kind of good in that range, it's going to be underwhelming.
That big of a difference, though. 4 wins is need a new quarterback. If 4 wins, we need a new quarterback. 5 wins is no. I just think that that's a funny, very thin line. I mean, I like these comments from Darren. He says, "Fun question."
That's what I'm saying. It's not just a win number. It's not like a certain amount of wins. You got to factor in the eye test and kind of how he looks along.
I mean, obviously, and this is what gets pointed out here is that and Andre says it's a nuanced question, which is absolutely true, right? The identity hasn't been set yet. New coaches, new players, questionable defense. You like a lot of the things that they did on defense, but we don't know what this defense looks like under Denard Wilson. And so watching Levis and how he looks is probably always in professional sports going to be more important than strictly the win column when you watch a guy play. And he says it's not about winning or losing right now. It's how we win or lose.
Right.
Two things I want to throw out here. Number one is to the people in the chat, not saying I disagree with you. I'm just curious if you think it's a lot or you think it is the most important thing. My question to you would be, what is the number then? What is the number? You know, if you feel win-loss record for the Titans is the most important thing for them keeping Will Levis as the quarterback or not, where do they need to get for you to feel like they should keep him? Because, you know, what is it? Darren says 6. We seeing a lot of 6 in the chat right now. Then we get Skip says 10. Devin says 9. Like, but this is the spectrum that I think is interesting here of what is the number that the Titans would have to win for you to say that's a good enough win-loss total for me to feel good about Will Levis. Jack, I will kind of push back a little, and I will say a lot. I think this matters a lot, and I might say it is the most important thing. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend there's no nuance to this. Like, obviously, there's a world where Will Levis looks awesome and the defense gives up 33 points a game and you lose a lot of games. I think that's a bit of an extreme scenario. But it matters a lot for 2 reasons. The first reason is going to be simple positioning. And if the Titans win 6 or 7 games, they're not going to be well positioned to get a top quarterback in the next draft, where I don't think it makes a ton of sense for them to move up 15 spots and trade up for Shedeur Sanders, right? Like, I don't think that checks out. But I think if you lose a lot of games and you're picking in the top 5 and the opportunity is kind of in your lap to go and grab a Quinn Ewers or go and grab one of the top quarterbacks in the draft, I think it changes your approach pretty significantly.